This topic is so it's so close to me because I've taught thousands of students over the years and at all levels, and so you get into especially now that people in the last year, they knew I was writing this book, and I was pulled out of a YMCA meeting because somebody's husband who played in the OHL, and the injury wasn't from the OHL, but he played and he was a skilled skater. He fell on an outdoor family skate, and they had to rush him to the hospital to drain his blood. And she said to me, it's been 5 years later, and she said, my husband's not the same. And you can hear the quivering in her voice. He's not the same. So I dealt with two players in North Bay. One spent 3 years in and out of the house because of noise and light. The other player played in the OHL with a very high caliber team, well known right across Canada. And he had a chance to go to Harvard. He chose to stay in Ontario and play, and good for him. Supported what he might, because I worked with him, I supported his choice 100%. Anyways, he ended up with a lot of concussions, and he's going to a university in Ontario, and he's struggling for his caliber. Now, I don't know, I haven't talked to him in about a year. I don't know if he's doing 70s, but this guy was always in the 90s. But he's struggling. And the first guy I talked about that was stuck at home for 3 years, in and out of dark rooms and that, he had to quit going to university. And I think he joined the military. But I have people that are, the marital breakups because of this, people that have, they've lost their jobs. Just 2 police officers just recently gave me their stories. One person had 3 scholarships in 3 different sports in the States, ended up with several concussions, and she's not the same today. She can't even go on the ice with her son. And I was at a sledge hockey tournament in London just 2 weekends ago, and I'm meeting an individual that sits on the board. And sledge, there's a lot of concussions. And again, that sport there, they don't train properly. But that being said, is that I could hear the pain in his voice. He's got a 3-year-old daughter, and he's had to quit his job 1.5 years ago, and he's struggling. And I can just go on. And then what really hurts me is because we're not educated, and we don't want to talk about the topic. And I'm not saying you don't play hockey or you don't play sports. I'm saying, yeah, you do play hockey. Yes, you play sports. My granddaughter just turned 5, and she's playing hockey. But if you ask her what she's got to do on the ice, and she just turned 5, she'll say, keep my head up. And she's French and English, so she can say it in French and English. So in the book, somebody talks about, the husband says, well, there's so much pain in your life. My kids aren't going to play hockey. At the end of the day, we have kids leaving at the bottom age because they're not skilled. Then we have parents that are paranoid because of concussions. And at some point in time, somebody's got to realize that this is not good for hockey, because this, especially in Canada, this is our sport. We're DNA made for this stuff. And who's going to lose out in this will be the NHL, who we love to watch. I mean, especially the playoffs.
The entire sport,
well,
top to bottom.
It's the fastest, most skill-demanding sport in the world. You have hybrid knives. They call them hockey blades. They put you on ice. Then they give you a hockey stick. Then they say, wear all this equipment. Why? Because you might get hurt. And they say, oh, by the way, I got 5 guys that want to take your head off, or 5 girls that want to make body contact with you. So it's the craziest sport in the world. It's even more important that science starts to cloak how hockey should be trained and how it should be played. So I'm not for changing the game 1 iota. That's not my call. That's whoever, at whatever point, the NHL or Hockey Canada, USA Hockey, the World Body, whatever. My call is just changing how they practice, having a plan from beginning to end. Not change the game. I love the game. I love everything about it. I love how it smells. I love how it looks. I just love the whole thing about it. But we need to change how we practice, and we do that with a plan and a correction process. And we do it for the kids. So you can actually say, Coach, can you show me the plan? This is what we're working on. This is what I don't understand in hockey. So I deal with a lot of coaches. They watch NHL hockey games. Yeah. They, everything's about skill. And the latest transformation, I'm not sure if I mentioned in the book, I might have. I talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm a Habs fan. But I'm also cheering for the Leafs now because I want them to do well.
I should have had you sign something.
They've been struggling for decades. So they bring in Tavares and Nylander and Marner and Matthews. Boom. They're in the mix. Everybody's excited. They have a chance. So they're maybe missing one key player, but they're there. And what did they do? They brought in skilled players. But we go back to the rink and we go, no time to work on skills. But they're the most celebrated players in the game. They're the most sought after.
Everybody wants a skill guy.
Everybody wants a skill guy. So why don't we pick, why don't we train skilled players? But then there's still the adage out there, yeah, but you need, I need players that compete. And I'm going, yeah, you need skilled players who can compete. But you can have 16 compete players with no skill up against a whole team of the Matthews and the Marners. You're in trouble. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it's going to be, given two equal goalies.
Yeah.
So, yes, you've got to have a mixture, but I would prefer the ultimate player is the skilled player, from vision, the stick, the skate, and that can compete. I think that's the ultimate player, and a good example of that would be Brad Marchand. Canadian, not really a big guy, plays tough, he's skilled. And actually, he's a good example of playing head down when he got crushed. It's on Twitter quite a bit. He's carrying the puck up to left boards, and he pops his head down, and he goes around one guy, pops his head down, and then boom, he gets hit. But there was no need for Marchand to put his head down. Mm-hmm. And that's what I can prove, because he already sees the puck. It's within his peripheral. And more importantly for Marchand, he's got such a long stick that he pushes it way in front of his peripheral. Goes head down for a millisecond or whatever the time period, bam, he gets smashed. And he's one of the elite players in the game today, who is the whole package. We can't afford to lose players like that. We can't afford to lose the Crosbys and the Marners and these players. So at that level, if they're tainted with concussions at a young level, they come into the NHL, and yeah, they're going to be a superstar, but they've had maybe 5 concussions. They get the 6th one, and then everything starts to go downhill. And again, so you feel for these players, but if we can fix it back in the minor leagues, minor hockey and that, and then we hand them over to the elites of the elites, then they come with less concussions, and then hopefully, the best players of the world learn that they can actually play more efficient and reduce the probability of sustaining a concussion. What's mind-boggling to me is that you don't work on your hands. So there's AAA players that can't do saucer passes, forehand, backhand, which is mind-boggling because in the NHL, the puck's in the air a great part of the time. So anyways, I get asked by Dave, and he comes out with these 2 words, and I'm going, why didn't you give me this? Because I want to put it in the book. And they were?
Well, you can practice a breakout with unskilled players all you want, but you're practicing an unskilled breakout.
It's so well put. Unskilled breakout. That's the summation of what I'm trying to scream to people.
Yeah.
So I have people here that don't understand hands. They'll tell me that some players overhandle the puck. Well, I'm going, do you watch Kane or any of these guys? Like, even when they're behind the net, they'll touch it like 4 or 5 times before they move.
With your head up, don't you structurally absorb an impact better?
Yeah.
Talk about the science of how your body reacts to impact.
So what happens is you have 206 bones in your body, 680 plus muscles. Everything works together, and the brain likes to protect itself. So it wants the body to present itself in the strongest, most positive way to reduce injuries, because the brain doesn't like to get hurt itself, and it doesn't like the body to get hurt. So what happens is in hockey is that because you put 2 hands on your stick, your shoulders roll in right away. And then if your head is down, you're compromised in 2 places. Head's down, so you reduce your vision skills, your peripheral, and your anticipatory skills. So your shoulders are rolled in. So there's players in the NHL, I'm not mentioning their name, but they've had shoulder injuries. And this is the position they put their skeletal system in. If they were to put their head up and drop their knees a little, still 2 hands on the stick, but now my skeletal system is not compromised. It's ready to absorb as much. And that's not to say you're not going to get injury, but less chance of injury than being here head down. Because head down, I can't keep my shoulders straight with my head down. It's just like, it's weird. Like your body is fighting, going, hey, Dan, you can't do that. But I can do it like this. But if I do this, I go, ooh, that feels good. And I got full vision, full reaction time. My skeletal system is not compromised in the neck. So these are all your C's. If you bend them down, you actually reduce the concaveness of your L's. So there's a whole lot of science in the body position. So I was recently down in Toronto. I tested 3 players. It was about 4 weeks ago 2 played for a high-profile team. They're minor midgets. One's the best defenseman on their team. The other's a pretty strong forward. He's from Slovakia or Romania or something. And the other plays on Team Japan, under 18. So I tested them, and there's 3 phases: beginners, intermediate, advanced. Advanced is the severe game pressure stuff. They failed in the beginners. I couldn't even get to the intermediate.
No kidding.
Yes, and they felt it and they knew it. And I asked the one parent who's a former Olympian and his wife is a former, and I said, "Do you understand what I was doing?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "These are like good players from an amazing organization with a lot of success, and they failed at the beginner stage. I can easily prove this. It would take me an hour on the ice. I don't have to, I don't have to spend weeks and what have you out of studies. The study was already done in 2010 with Michigan Buffalo, and they said, we need to teach head up. So I put a program together that complements that. So you need to train fast agility skates to remove yourself from danger, and you need to train fast hands. And what's really unique about my program is I train fast hands. I just don't train hands. I train fast hands in a multiple of skating skills with their head up, so that you don't delay your skates. If you have slow hands in any movement, whether it's in front, side, or behind the body, you will delay your skates, the reaction in your skates. So you can be a 9 out of 10 in skating, but if you're a 5 out of 10 in stick handling skills, when you get the puck, you're going to drop down to about a 7. And people don't realize that. So they come to me and they say, I want to skate faster. I'm going, okay, I'm going to measure your stick skills. And they go, why are you measuring my stick skills? Because your stick skills, if they're impeding you, then how am I going to train you to be faster? It's a 1-2 punch, skates and stick. And then the third ingredient that's come to light over the last few years from testing is I add even more speed with fast skates, fast hands, with the right head position, so that you have maximum peripheral, and which enhances your anticipatory skills. So all around, when you build a player, it's not just skating and it's not just stick handling. Those two go together, but then you have to have the right head position for whatever the angle is happening on the ice. Players are 5 feet from you and they're closing in on you. Your eyes interprets that. What's in your brain is going to be how you react. And if your head's down, you delay the reaction if you're carrying the puck. If you have your head up and you have the right input, then you have the most efficient movement to avoid danger.